Welcome back to the Angel Mystic Podcast, and today we've got our very first guest. So I'm super excited to welcome Yvonne Pritchard, who is, oh my goodness, she is the queen of talking about lots of things, but today we're going to be talking about procrastination. And Yvonne is empowering females to be fabulous. How wonderful does that sound? She's a transformational mind and personal development coach, qualified in NLP, practitioner and a coach with that, and empowers women through her membership to move from a world of unhappiness, uncertainty and despair into a world of happiness, clarity and focus. Yvonne is on a mission to support as many females as possible to be fabulous. And I'm hoping today she's going to help me to be fabulous, because procrastination is something that I have been struggling with. In fact, this podcast is 3 years on procrastination, because for 3 years I've been saying I'm going to start a podcast. So she seems the perfect guest to start with. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So procrastination. 3 years.
Yes, absolutely. 3 years. 3 years I've gone every January. This year I'm going to start my podcast. This year I'm going to start my podcast. And the thing that has held me back is not knowing how to do it from a technical point. Now, as it is, I found someone to help me with all of that, and it's all coming together brilliantly. But don't we, hold ourselves back when we don't know how to do something?
We do. And actually, what you said there about what was holding you back was the technology side of it. That is part of it. If we don't know how to do something, if it scares us, we just leave it. And actually, technology is one of my things that I'm scared of as well, because we know what we can do, but when you then have to put a process behind it, or if you have to, get something involved where you've got to edit or whatever, it's just like, oh, that's like difficult. And that goes on to the difficult pile. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's a fear of getting it wrong for me.
Yeah. So it's okay. So that's really interesting, because there are 4 types of procrastinators, Amanda. Let me take you through the 4.
Please.
So the first one is the performer. So you work well under pressure. You need a deadline, otherwise it won't get done. And you know what the main reason behind this is? It's perfectionism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the performer is the first type of procrastinator. The second type is the self-deprecator. So that's I'm so lazy. I'm just terrible. I can't do all of this. Really, really hard on themselves. And their biggest challenge is that they need to take a break. They need to stop and actually think about, do they need to do this? So that's the second one. The third is the overbooker. I'm so busy. I've got so much to do. Running around like a headless chicken, avoiding what they need to be doing. So the overbooker. And then this is me, the novelty seeker. I've got the best idea. I'm just going to do this. This is the shiny object person. And that's me.
Is that like a magpie?
Yeah. I start lots of things, but they never get finished because I get bored. And then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I start with the exciting stuff. And then the boring stuff never gets done. So a bit like you, Amanda, where it comes to stuff where I need help with tech, I need to outsource that, because otherwise it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's talking about, perfectionism. I often have to tell myself it's progress over perfectionism. And the only way that I've been able to start this podcast is in my head, tell myself that all I'm going to do is press record and talk. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I wasn't going to do an intro. I certainly wasn't going to do an outro. There was going to be no music. But as I found someone that's pretty tech savvy and sorting it all out for me, there is those things now. But just to get myself on the track of moving forward, I had to say, do you know what? progress over perfectionism, and that's helped me a lot.
Definitely. And also, you know, with perfectionism, we don't start. So therefore it's like, well, what's the point? You know, you can have this wonderful idea, you know, you can have this amazing website, and it's all just sat on your hard drive. Nobody sees it. So what's the point? You know, we need to press that button and just go, right, I'm going to do this. And actually, I think nowadays people don't want perfection. I think they want to see the real you. And sometimes when stuff's over edited or it's you know, overworked, it just doesn't feel right.
No, that's true.
Because my background's in corporate, you know, everything we did was polished to perfection. And, you know, I worked for Sony, so you can imagine, you know, the standard of the broadcast stuff that we did. Whereas when I started my own business, it was, you know, it still is now, go live on a mobile phone and just, you know, just talk about whatever you want to talk about. I think it's very different nowadays. I think it's very different when you look at the two worlds, sort of the world of corporate and actually the world that we live in today. So I think, you know, making that distinction for me was quite difficult. And it's like, actually, it doesn't need to be perfect. And in fact, it's not going to be perfect with me because I'm not a perfectionist, which is good in one way, but also sometimes I can come across as a little bit slapdash. So maybe, Amanda, you and I need to meet in the middle. And then, you know, it could be better. But I do think everybody procrastinates, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Do you think that? Because I do see a lot of my clients procrastinating too. And I often tell them to use, and I don't even know the person's name that created this, but the 5-4-3-2-1 method.
Mel Robbins.
Is it Mel Robbins?
Yeah, it's Mel Robbins that did 5-4-3-2-1. Yeah. Do you know what? I read her book and I quit my job.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I know it's her. Yeah. Wow. But it's a brilliant technique though, isn't it? So simple.
It is. And you know, like if you're struggling to get up in the morning, you know, if you keep hitting the snooze button, you just say to yourself 5-4-3-2-1, and on one, you've got to take the action, whatever it is. So whatever you're procrastinating with, I find that is a really useful thing to do. But you did hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, that it is really about perfectionism, and also I just fly by the seat of my pants. So I'm not particularly good at planning because I do need that deadline, like you said. And I can remember when I was going through uni and doing all that, you know, deadlines that you have to meet in that, it would always be on the last minute. I'd always have to be on the last minute. And I try in my little, you know, organized head, or that segment of my head that is organized, wants to be ahead of the game and not be on the last minute. But I do perform better on the last minute for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I start things early, but then it is literally the day before. So for example, my membership, I have a session on the first Monday of the month at 7 o'clock at night. So I will start writing my coaching session halfway through the month. I make sure that Monday, the first Monday of the month, I have nothing in my diary because I know I will end up finishing it. And I think sometimes, you know, just knowing the way that you work, it's okay if you leave stuff to last minute, but make sure that you've actually left yourself time in that last minute to finish what you need to finish.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you then get stressed, and that then leads to overwhelm, that then leads to guilt, and then nothing gets done because you just start, you know, beating yourself up. So it's like, well, do you know what? I know what kind of procrastinator I am. So therefore I need to put things in place to help and support, because I don't think we can change. Maybe we can change, you know, how we procrastinate, but I think sometimes, you know, I'm a big advocate of change, as I'm sure you are aware, Amanda. But sometimes it's like, you know, do we need to change everything? And I'm not sure I could change the shiny object syndrome in me, because that's me. It's ingrained in me.
And do you know what? we talk about this like, as if it's always a bad thing, that, when we are procrastinating, it's a negative thing. But is it always negative, or do you think there could be some positive aspects to it?
I think there can be some positive aspects. I think the problem is when you procrastinate, you end up beating yourself up about it, don't you?
You
And
do?
it's like, it's I was talking to a lady the other day, and I used tax returns as an example.
Ooh,
You
that's
know,
nasty.
we
Nasty.
we nasty, we leave our tax returns to the last minute. We know they have to be in sometime in January or whatever, so we just leave it and leave it and leave it. But then we beat ourselves up. We go, I'm not doing that again next year. Next year I'm going to be on it. And it's like, and we're not. It's just like, do you know what? If you're not going to beat yourself up about it, then I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when we do have a go, it's like just accept it. Accept it that you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Give it to somebody else to do. That's the other option. We don't have to do all of these things. And just be aware. But I do think sometimes if you do procrastinate, it could be that, I don't know, something happens that you don't need to do what you thought you had to do. I just, for me, I think procrastination it's a time eater and a time waster, isn't it? Because what you're not doing the thing that you need to do, but you're thinking about it, and that's exhausting.
Yeah, and a massive energy drain, isn't it?
Yes,
And
it is.
yeah, as we both know, because we both, do NLP, and sitting behind all that procrastination, the driving force behind the procrastination will be some sort of limiting belief, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. It will be, and it goes back to, what were we not good at? We've both said that, we don't like tech. Well, actually, I'm sure if we actually sat down and, spent some time on it, we could master the tech. But we think we're not good at it. It's like, no, it's because we haven't sat down and done it. And actually, I don't particularly want to either. I'd rather spend my time doing stuff I enjoy. But see, that's the other thing with procrastinating. We don't procrastinate over stuff we enjoy. We only procrastinate over stuff that we don't really like doing.
Yeah, that's true enough.
Yeah. It's like, you think about the stuff that you love doing, you just do it. Whereas if it's like, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah, because you're motivated, aren't you? I often say, people, walk around going, I need to feel motivated, but actually really what you need is inspiration.
Yeah.
And when you feel inspired, you naturally take that action, don't you? Because you
do.
naturally feel motivated.
That's it. That's it. And also, when you do stuff and you are motivated, you're happier. So, what I say about, if you're procrastinating over a task, the first thing I say to somebody is break it down. Break it down, because if you're looking at this big task, it's never going to get done. So I had to phone the Inland Revenue a couple of years ago because I wasn't sure if I'd paid enough national insurance to get whatever pension I may get. And I sat there and I built this up into a big problem. And I just put it on a difficult pile. And in the end, I just thought, I need to do this. So day one, I found my national insurance number. Day two, I found the phone number for the national insurance people.
Nice, yeah.
And then day three, I had nothing else. I had to call them. So I called them, and literally within 5 minutes, I got through to them, explained the situation. They told me I had 3 more years to pay, and that was it. So this big problem that I'd been procrastinating about for weeks was solved in 5 minutes, and it wasn't that painful, but I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And I then built it up. So break it down into small chunks, manageable chunks.
That's a really good tip. Thank you, Yvonne. One of the ones that I like to use as well is rewards.
Yes.
So if, I take the action that I need to take and stop procrastinating, I can have some sort of reward, some sort of treat at the end of it.
Yeah. And you know what, Amanda? I love the fact that you said that you reward the action and not the outcome.
Yeah.
Because that is really important. Because again, if the outcome is, I don't know, like, you've written a book or books, if the outcome is write and get a book published, that's a long time coming. Whereas if you reward the fact that you've written 1,000 words, for example, that's a good thing. You've rewarded the action and the outcome will come. But I think lots of people reward the outcome. They wait and therefore they just give up.
Yeah.
So there's one thing I really tell people is don't reward the outcome, reward the action.
Yeah, that's another good tip. Definitely.
Yeah. And the other one I use, which is, think about it, yeah. Quite a few of us are probably parents and we've had to incentivize our kids to do stuff. So I've now started putting 20 minutes onto the oven timer and go, right, I've got 20 minutes to, I don't know, whatever task I need to do the ironing. Yeah. So stick it on, do the ironing, 20 minutes finishes, the ironing goes away. Okay, I may not have finished it, but I've done 20 minutes of it. It's making these tasks that we don't want to do a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
You know, what can you get done in 10 minutes? But yeah, it's just trying to make some fun out of it and just go back and think about, you know, how did you reward your kids when they were little? You know, we had reward stickers and stuff like that. Well, why can't you have one? You know, I've got a checklist and I put down every week actions that I want to achieve. And if I do those actions, there goes a tick in the box. And if the boxes all have ticks at the end of the week, I reward myself. So I've got my own little.
If I see you next time, Yvonne, with lots of stickers, I know what's been going on.
Exactly. It's all. I think sometimes we get all serious, don't we? It's like, God, put some fun back into it. And you know, with my clients, I coach children as well. So with the children, I do, you know, advocate reward jars because it's and you know. Even for teenagers, it's like, do a rewards jar, but you've got to decide at the beginning what the reward is going to be, because then there's an incentive there to do it. And, you know, we're the same. We could do with reward jars if we've done something. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate of trying to make things fun. And then you get stuff done. Yeah.
Yeah,
it feels so much better when you've got something awful off your to-do list that only took you 5 minutes.
It just frees you up. It's like a big declutter, isn't it, in your mind? Because procrastination, I think, really sort of overlaps with overwhelm.
It does.
And you know, I remember I used to have an ongoing to-do list, and this to-do list was so long that just looking at it just made me feel awful. Until one day I sat down and looked at it and thought, you know what? I'm going to take half of this stuff off the list because it's never going to get done. And all it's doing is cluttering my head up. So I literally took off everything that was not important and threw it away.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much more space in my head I had. And then I was able to, you know, address those things that really did need to be done, you know, because we don't need to do things. We can, like you said before, we could give it to someone else to do, we could outsource it, or we could make it fun. I know one year my word of the year was love. And I decided everything I was going to do that year had to relate to something I loved. Now, obviously, I don't love cleaning up and doing dishes and stuff like that. But I could love it more if I put music on while I was doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I did. And what I didn't love, I either didn't do or outsourced or found a fun way to do it.
And that's it. You know, it's sort of and I keep saying this, you know, we're on this earth once, yeah, as the beings we are today. We're on this earth once, you know, life is too short. And if we're miserable and unhappy, then what's the point? It's like, God, and I think sometimes as grown-ups, we just are far too serious. It's like, oh, just go back to when you were a child and you were running around, you know, in capes and stuff and having fun. We just think, oh, grown-ups can't do that. It's like, no, they can. When you were talking about your long to-do list, it reminded me of somebody who I used to work with, and I was horrified when I first heard this story. But now I look back at it and go, genius. So he'd gone away for 2 weeks, and he put his out of office on, and he'd come back, and all of the emails that were in his inbox, he deleted them. We all sat there horrified going, you've done what? And he's like, well, I've been away for 2 weeks. So most of these emails or most of these issues have either been dealt with or they're not important. And if they are important, they will email me again.
Oh my goodness.
And I now look back at that and go, genius. But I don't think I could have done it.
Yeah, it's bold, isn't it? It
It
really
is
is bold.
bold. But you think about it, there's so much things in our lists and stuff that we need to do that if it's been there for over 2 weeks, well, is it that important?
Yeah. Well, if my team's listening, that isn't something that we're going to implement just now.
Yeah, good idea.
Don't
Don't
take
do
that
that.
as a like delete the inbox. But yeah, I mean, I totally understand, the way that he's looking at that, and yeah, good on him if that works for him.
I'm not sure it did, but we were all like, okay.
I can see the logic in it. I really can, and like you say, it is sort of genius because I've had this conversation recently with family members because we've just been away, and the week before going away, you're working such long hours to get
Mhm.
everything done, to leave it all so you can go away, and especially when you've got your own business, and then you come back and you've got so much you need to catch up with. You're working super long hours the week after you come back, and you sometimes wonder, like, is it really worth it?
Yeah, it's that fine line, isn't it? Because again, as business owners, are we ever off? I find that when we go away, that
Mm.
I do check in and stuff, and if it's mainly just emails and just somebody's message, it's okay, I'll message them back. But I did it whilst I worked in the corporate world as well, because to me it was like, if I can deal with something and solve it in a minute, I'd rather do that than have to unravel the mess when I got back. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that is then people know you're going to do it. So then they're constantly messaging you and you never get a downtime. And, having downtime is also really important. So it's that balance, isn't it? And as you say, if you're working, like a mad person before you go away and after you've come back, that time you've had off, well, are you just delaying working? It's really strange. But I think, and also, and I think we're going a bit off topic here, Amanda, but that's why to me, it's like when I talk about, self-care with my clients, it's not about going on holidays. It's not about having the bath. It's about spending time doing something that you love as often as you can, because
Yeah.
that's how you recharge your batteries, and the holidays just top it all up. It's
Mm-hmm.
that boost, isn't it? But
Mm-hmm.
you need to keep yourself at a certain level. So yeah, because again, if you're happy and you're focused and you're motivated, you're not going to procrastinate.
Mm-hmm. And do you think procrastination then, can cause depression, anxiety, and unhappiness?
I think it can, because you end up constantly thinking about it, and as you said earlier, there is a link between procrastination and overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you spend a lot of time in overwhelm, you can start then that takes you into stress, and then you can start to just see that spiral of stress then goes into depression and everything else. And but also, if we're not doing stuff, we're stagnant. And if we're stagnant, that to me, it's fine to be stagnant for a bit, because you can, you maybe need to recharge your batteries. But spending too much time not doing something, for me, is detrimental to your health.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that, procrastination can lead to anxiety and depression, because you're not doing something, you're beating yourself up about it. You're not doing something, you're beating yourself up about it. Your mind monkeys, as I call them, go into overdrive, telling you how rubbish and pathetic and this, that, and the other you are. All of a sudden, your self-worth goes through the floor, and then you start to believe what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And then that spiral. So I think there is definitely a link to it. And also, with regards to depression, one of the early warning signs is if you stop doing something that you used to love to do.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing. It could be, well, I used to love going to the gym, and I didn't, but that's just an example. I love going to the gym. I don't go anymore because I can't be bothered. It's too much like hard work. Well, actually, is that a warning sign that there's something bigger going on here? So I think procrastination is quite dangerous. And actually, the more I'm talking to you about it, Amanda, the more I'm thinking, yeah, it's a big one, that rather than just saying, oh, I'm just procrastinating, it's like we really do need to be more aware of this and how often we procrastinate and what we're procrastinating over, because I think it can be quite dangerous.
I would agree, definitely. So what do you think the top ways are to avoid procrastination?
Well, Mel Robbins is a great one, the one you said earlier, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I use that one a lot. I also believe in breaking things down into manageable chunks, because, I just feel that if you end up with this big problem, or what you perceive as a big problem, it just will never get done. I also, advocate the do, ditch, or delegate. It's like, if you're going to do it, do it. If you're not going to do it, get rid of it or give it to somebody else, if you can. But also, it's looking at being aware of what you procrastinate over, and looking to see, again, in the world of NLP and coaching, what are the patterns here? What are you avoiding doing, and why?
Yeah.
And it's
the why is important, isn't it?
Yeah. And most of the time we can't say why. That's sort of our job, isn't it, to try and get that out of people. It's like, why? What is it? And then working out what that, and it is inevitably, as you said at the beginning, a limiting belief. And it's like, right, so what is it then? But I just feel like that word procrastination it doesn't trivialize, but do you understand what I mean? It's like, I'm procrastinating. I'm such a procrastinator. It sort of, in a way, makes it
trivial,
acceptable. It does make it and it's like, actually, no, you need to be aware of this, because it could cause real issues.
And it could be highlighting something bigger and greater,
exactly,
showing up in other areas of your life as well.
Exactly. But I'm a big advocate of lists and ticks. But that's me. I've got an annual plan, I've got a monthly plan broken down into a weekly plan, broken down into a daily plan. I am a massive planner, and if it's not ticked off my list, then I can let it go for 2 days, and then I need to do it. Like, for example, I need to write email copy, and I don't particularly like writing copy. It's been on my list for 2 days. So this morning, it was my first task. And that's the other thing. If you're putting something off, do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I do that, definitely. I always put my most difficult things at the top of my list, because then I'll know that it's out the way, and it just, I don't know, it just mentally helps me. But you're saying about lists, confession, because I absolutely love lists. I mean, I mentioned my big list that I had to dump a few years ago now, but I always have a list. I have a daily list of things that I'm doing. I'm good in that sort of way, and I love ticking things off. I get a huge sense of achievement when I've ticked something off my list. But I'm a bugger for putting things on my list just so I can cross them off that I've already done. So
That's
like,
fine.
make myself a cup of tea, crossed it off. Because the sense of achievement that I get when everything is crossed off, and I go to bed that night knowing that my list is complete. Of course, there's a list waiting for the next day, but that list is done, and it feels so good ticking things.
It does. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with putting something on your list that you have to do. I have to take the kids to school. Stick it on the list, because that tick bit, I've done that. That's a sense of achievement, and it then spurs you on to do more.
It does. You're right.
So there's nothing wrong with it, as long as you do other things, and not just the things that you do anyway. But it's just that it's fascinating, how we work as human beings, isn't it? And you're just like, what? Well, yeah, I've done that. Okay, well, what's next then? Okay, I'll do that one. Okay, and then it's like, there's one thing left on my list. I need to get that done. It just makes you feel good, and if it makes you feel good, do it.
So you have a membership, don't you, where you help people with this sort of stuff?
I do. So I launched my membership, Female and Fabulous, in January of this year. So it's quite new, but it is all about empowering women to make positive changes. And we actually, procrastination and motivation was the topic in February. We did that. So yes. So it for me. When I started my business back in January 2020, my goal was to help as many women as possible to be happy. That's what I wanted to do. And probably a bit like you, Amanda, I haven't quite procrastinated over it, but I wanted to do something where I could reach more than just one-to-one clients. So it's 4 years in the making, but I've now got sort of 4 years worth of experience, collateral knowledge that I can share. And it's all about helping women understand how the mind works, what they can do to sort of control their mind, to then help them make positive changes in their lives. So yeah, that's the membership. Really passionate about it, because it does enable me to reach a wider audience and to help as many women as possible. I have been asked, can men join? They can. However, the topics are sort of female related. What I coach on isn't, but I have guest experts coming in every month, and their topics are quite specific to females. But I'm a woman and I can relate better to women, and I sort of feel their pain. And let's be honest, there's loads of male coaches out there who I think could serve men better in a membership than I can. So I'm doing what we're told to do, and I'm niching and being a good business owner for once.
Yeah, good for you. Well, it sounds fabulous, I'm sure. Well, fabulous, of course it sounds fabulous. It's all that, empowering women to be fabulous.
Yes.
I'm sure people get a lot from being in that environment and working on themselves, because it's so important, isn't it, to work on yourself. I mean, people often think with spiritual development it's all sort of woo-woo and fluffy stuff, but it really is about working on yourself and your own energy first. So yeah, it sounds great. So where can people find you?
So you can find me on all social media. I'm on there as Yvonne Pritchard. Literally just find me and then you'll see my face all over the place. I'm sort of sick to death of seeing my own face on social media, but never mind. So the business is Beeleev, and that is Beeleev. So my website is www.beeleev.co.uk. And then if you go onto the website, there is a tab called Female and Fabulous. So you can have a look at the Female and Fabulous, but all of my contact details are on there as well. But the best place to find me is social media. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I have a TikTok account. I'm not on it very often, but it's there. But yeah, sort of Facebook, LinkedIn is sort of the places where I hang out, and it would be lovely to meet new people and to sort of spread the love and talk to you about Female and Fabulous.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today. I say us, of course, it's me and the angels you've been talking to today, which is great. But I love talking about this sort of stuff. So it's been really, really enjoyable thrashing it out over procrastination. I'm delighted that you were my first guest on the podcast. So thank you, Yvonne.
Honoured to be your first guest, Amanda. I really am. And actually, I agree with you. I think procrastination is a good place to start. Get that out of the way, and then you can all fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, well, I will connect with you again soon. Thank you once again, Yvonne.
You're welcome, and thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Bye.